So minor exercise time, but again, I'm going to try to have you reference more and more from the manuals because, well, frankly, the documentation in either one of them, Gambit Scheme or Dr. Racket, it's extensive. It really is. The bad part is finding things sometimes. Gambit Scheme, in my opinion, does a nice job of laying out what functions and other items you can use, whereas Dr. Racket is much more inclined on giving you a tutorial, giving you, how to program in functional languages. It's very much more of a teaching tool, whereas Gambit really is like, okay, you kind of know what you're doing. Here's what you got. Get moving. So it's going to be kind of interesting when you do this exercise. And the only thing that I'm really looking for is, number one, I want you to find a list of pre-built functions. I'm not asking you for the entire list. I'm just looking for you to find some pre-built functions that your flavor happens to work with. Now, I try to give you a little bit of hints on where to find some of that in number 1A and B. And then number 2, identify the special character, the question mark at the end of some of the pre-built functions, and then tell me what the question mark is for that special character at the end of the function name. So go ahead and do that right now, and we'll go over, really the only solution we're looking at is 2 and 3 here, and we'll go over that here in a second. So this actually is something that's consistent between the different flavors. And I'm happen to be using the Dr. Racket one. Again, if it was Gambit, it'd be the same idea, but it would just looks different, the overall setup of the HTML documentation here in reference. So notice right off the bat, I gave a little bit of hint for those that are using the Dr. Racket portion. We have pair question mark, we have null question mark. You can kind of figure out, they do a nice job at least showing an example of how to run and all that good stuff, but it also shows you what values they return. In both examples they give you a return. So I'm going to return of a Boolean value. Let me go to one that doesn't have one. Here we go with car, and it gives you actually an expression. It's looking through a list, which again we'll go over here in a little bit, but any of those that have some type of Boolean response are always going to have a question mark at the end. Now there are other ones that you may have found, and let me know. I'll add them to the list here. And again, it really depends. Most of them actually don't depend on the flavor, but I've seen a few that were a little different. Let's just put it that way. But most of them are very consistent depending on the flavors.